All right, everyone. Good morning. Monday morning. This is the morning briefing from the Celtic Way. We'll be looking back on Celtic 5, Falkirk 2 from yesterday and discussing whatever else is going on. There's a light buzzing sound I can hear, guys. I'm not sure who wants to take responsibility for that.
I don't think it's me. It might even be from your side. It sounds as if there's static. Don't know if it's to do with microphones or that, but I can still hear it.
I think it's Tony. I've
muted
just muted
himself. Yeah.
It's fine. I'm sure it'll work itself out. How are you, Ryan? How are things?
Things are good. Yeah, Celtic are through to the semi-final of the League Cup. It was a wild game, to be honest. Great for the neutral, if there was any neutrals watching the game on Premier Sports yesterday. Wild cup tie. Couple of players that didn't do themselves any favours with their performance. A couple that really did and showed why that they are starters in Celtic's team. The starters proved why they're starters. Yesterday when they came off the bench after 60 minutes. It's abundantly clear who Celtic's best players are this season. I think both of them came off the bench, to be honest, and Engels and especially Nicholas Kuhn. I think that as Celtic supporters and people who cover Celtic have every right to be getting quite excited about Nicholas Kuhn, because I think the real version of him has arrived. His numbers this season are absolutely incredible, and if he keeps this going, he'll be right up there with contenders for Player of the Season. If he can keep these goal contributions up, he is a man that's bang on form at the moment, and long may it continue, because Falkirk just did not know what to do with him. It's as if he came on and was like, we're going to Hampden regardless. We are going to Hampden. I'm getting back there. I want to play against Aberdeen. I know he didn't know of the draw until after the game, but he scored against them last time. I just think he's a guy that's bang on form and really, really looking good at this moment in time. So yeah, long may that continue.
5 goals, 6 assists already this season. Nicholas Kuhn, pretty impressive numbers. Tony, things?
All right, all good. I think that was a half-hour game yesterday, wasn't it? Because for the first hour, I think it was, I think you have to hand the plaudits to Falkirk. But once Celtic sent the heavy artillery on, got the natural first teamers back in the side, and got themselves in front, you knew which way the game was going to go. But I have to say, fair play to Falkirk. But Kuhn was excellent, wasn't he? Just shows you that he came on half an hour, man of the match performance, 2 goals, 2 assists. I mean, what more do you want from somebody like Kuhn? And we spoke in the aftermatch show yesterday, and to be fair, Kuhn had signposted this, didn't he? I think Kuhn was really disappointed in himself, and he made a big issue of the dental stuff and losing the 9 kilograms, and he said it affected him really badly, and it clearly did, because he said he was a much better player than that, and he would prove it. And from pre-season, I think everybody's had a good vibe about Kuhn, haven't they? Since the Man City game, and everyone was saying, here's hope, it's pre-season, here's hoping he can continue that for him into the season. He's come out like a train, hasn't he? You say 5 and 6 assists, 8 games. I think I read a stat saying it's a goal contribution every 45 minutes.
Yep.
Wow,
that's incredible. You know, so that's wonderful stuff from Nicholas Kuhn. As Ryan says, long may it continue. But he was really pilloried for that performance at Easter Road, wasn't he? That time, and you know, now knowing the backstory, you actually feel for him, because he probably was. He knew himself he was nowhere near it, and probably shouldn't have been playing, if the truth be told. So I'm glad he's managed to kind of change the narrative in that, and the Celtic supporters realise that they've got somebody really valuable in their side, and it just shows you what happens when Kuhn came on. Ida came alive, didn't he?
Mm.
You know, lots of people were having a say about Adam Ida in that first hour as well, but you're only as good as the service you get from the wide areas, and he was getting service from the moment Kuhn stepped onto the pitch, and that's the difference. And I think Adam Ida won a few people round as well yesterday, and I know it's Falkirk, I understand that, but you've still got to make those runs. His touch for that second goal is utterly sublime. It's brilliant.
Yeah. It's a great finish as well. Yeah,
it takes a defender out. And myself and Ryan spoke earlier this morning, it's 3 natural strikers finishes he's produced in the last 2 games. You know, so, and he's looked more natural in his finishing than, say, Kyogo has since the start of this season. That's a bit telling, isn't it?
Yeah, he's. I just think Adam Ida's going to score goals. Like I'm not surprised by anything I see. I mean, maybe he still has to win some people over. I would just question, what these people need to see to be won over by Adam Ida. He scored goals ever since he came to Celtic, and big goals, and he scored 2 more of them yesterday. It's really encouraging stuff that he's now up and running. Because again, he had played like 2 appearances off the bench, and people were questioning Adam Ida. It feels to me like there's just something out there that people just want to write Adam Ida off for whatever reason, and you are just seeing the start of what's going to be a truly brilliant Celtic striker. I believe that we're going to have Ida for years to come, and he's going to score so many goals for us. So I was delighted for him. I don't need to speak about Nicholas Kuhn, guys, because I just love the guy. He is just... Yeah. Here's a question. Can you remember a turnaround in a player in such a short space of time like Nicholas Kuhn? Because at the end of last season, I was firmly of the belief he wasn't what we required. He wasn't going to be good enough for Celtic. And now he is like one of the most exciting players we've had in a number of years. I mean, I think he's... we paid $3 million for him, Ryan, and that already looks an absolute snip at that price. He's worth at least 3 times that, and he's getting better and better every game that passes. It's like watching a different player to the one we saw last season when he signed.
Yeah, and it's all about confidence. I think it's a number of things. Confidence in his own game, which he can clearly see whenever he was getting the ball. But it's not just what he's doing on the ball, it's off it as well. The tackles that he's making to get the ball back. I think it's an underrated part of his game. His defensive work, he does get back. It just so happens he's got somebody that probably overshadows him. And Daizen Maeda, that's Daizen Maeda's personality, to get the ball back and run and do all these things. But Kuhn's good at it as well, and he's learned how to do that, because that wasn't something that anybody was talking about from Rapid Vienna's side, about being a hard worker defensively. He's had to adapt to that style of play as a winger. As a winger, you still need to defend, you still need to help your fellow fullback. It just so happens that him and Alistair Johnston seem to have a really good partnership as well, and I think that's a large part of how he's done so well this season. I'm actually racking my brains to think about a player that has had a turnaround this quickly.
Andy's saying Bobby Petr. Tony, would that be one?
Well, Petr started off very brightly for Celtic. He scored against Ajax in the Champions League qualifiers and had a wonderful game against Rangers in the 6-2 game, and then seemed to go off the boil and never really recovered it. So Petr, maybe. So I'd dispute that a wee bit, but that's just me. I say I thought Petr started brightly and then fizzled out, whereas Kuhn kind of came in and fizzled out and then has burned brightly again, has turned it all around again. But yeah, I agree with Ryan to the extent that yesterday, that winning that ball back for that third goal, that just kills every bit of momentum Falkirk have got in the match. That's the winning goal. For me, there was nothing other than a Celtic win going to happen. The minute Kuhn wins that ball and releases Ida, who takes that finish brilliantly. And Celtic did finish strong. That's the one thing you have to say. But I think the manager's learned as well that 8 changes was too many.
He said that, hasn't he?
Yeah, he said it's on me. And he he wanted to see players play. But 8 changes to a winning team that was slick and was performing and doing really well was too many. He said normally he would just go with 1 in each line.
Yeah.
So I was surprised with the 8, I have to say. I thought it was too many myself, and the whole new back 4 was a risk. He said it was a risk worth taking. I guess the end justifies the means, but they were very uncomfortable at times. Aggie man had a chance to make it 2-0, and he's pulled his shot across the face after losing Trusty, stuff like that. And if he's more clinical, Celtic could have been in a real bit of bother there if the guy produces a decent effort. Thankfully, he didn't. But Falkirk have came, and fair play to them, they've came and taken the lead twice, and it has been the best team that we've played so far because they've actually came and had a go at Celtic. And I think Celtic, it was a wee kind of wake-up call in the fact that, we've got strength and depth, but it's maybe not there. You know, maybe, as the Brendan Rodgers said the other week, they're going to have to go again in January in terms of the transfer window, and I think yesterday proved that, didn't they? There's still some fringe players there that you just think it's not going to happen for them, that the club might have to be moved on. And, you know, and Celtic bring in better quality cover as well as another couple of additions in certain positions.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the back line, I've got a little bit of sympathy for the manager because Alistair Johnson and Cameron Carter-Vickers weren't able to play the match. It wasn't a case of them being rested. They may have been rested had they been fit, but that wasn't an option that Brendan Rodgers had. Just in case anyone doesn't know, Cameron Carter-Vickers has a meniscus issue, the bone in your foot, the one that the England players were all getting done in the mid-2000s. I think Wayne Rooney was a high-profile one, wasn't he? So it sounds like a bit of a concern about Carter-Vickers, judging from what the manager's saying, like they've been managing this for a while. Alistair Johnson has a back issue. He had a hamstring issue just in the last couple of weeks, so he's kind of been in the wars as well. And I think we all wanted to see Trusty and Vi play. So maybe like putting Liam Scales in rather than Stephen Welsh would have been a good move yesterday. Maybe having Greg Taylor in from the start, just because you were missing Johnson and Carter-Vickers, it might have made sense to have Taylor in there. And maybe Dies and Maida in there rather than Luis Palma might have really improved our chances. I think the manager said, Ryan, he's never going to do it again, that it was too many changes. And I guess there was no real, it all ended okay in the end because we got the job done.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing, to be honest, for that game. If there was any game to do rotation, it was against Falkirk. I know that they got a bloody nose twice with the 2 goals that Falkirk scored. And they looked dangerous every time they went up the park, which is credit to them and credit to John McGlynn. It just goes to show you that Rodgers was completely right in his assessment of Falkirk in the pre-match.
Just one sec. I said meniscus, didn't I? It's metatarsal. Roberts corrected me. Sorry, Ryan.
You're all good. It's the game. I would have done the same thing, and I think you've learned a lot. I think Rodgers has probably learned a lot more about his side as well. I mean, you could have easily just played Maeda, played Scales, but you know what you're going to get from these players. I'd much rather he finds out from the first team players getting a chance, getting an opportunity, maybe not necessarily taking it. I think that bodes better, or it bodes more well for the rest of the season than if you were to just play those players that you know and you know what you're going to get from them. So I think it'll be beneficial for the manager. He knows who he can trust, who he maybe won't go to again to start a game. But I think it goes to show you that Celtic have a good maybe 14, 15, 16 players. It's not as deep. The squad isn't as the squad depth isn't as good as what maybe people think it is. Especially when there's wholesale changes. Now, I don't want the jury's out on players. You know, some players were making their first full appearance for Celtic, so I'm not going to write them off straight away. But Rodgers will know what players he can depend upon, and he showed that. They showed that when they came on in the 60th minute. There's a reason why these players are starting games. There's a reason why Celtic paid good money for Arne Engels. He instantly made an impact. Greg Taylor. There's a reason why he's first choice left back. I thought he was sublime when he came on yesterday. Didn't do anything flashy, but he calmed everybody down, and he's a first-team player. The longer that this period goes on, the more I'm wanting to sign a new deal, because I realise how important he is to this side as a whole, not just on the park, but off the park, and the way that he talks to people and the way that he communicates with his fellow professionals. I thought he was absolutely brilliant when he came on the park yesterday, and there was a moment in the game where he passes it out wide and then he moves into the box and nearly gets a shot away or gets a chance away. And I'm like, that's exactly what we've been missing, just a bit of leadership. It's difficult to replace leaders, and I think you need to keep these guys about, to be honest.
We can speak, Tony, about players that we are going to come on to, the likes of Stephen Welsh and Luis Palma, who people aren't particularly happy with their level of performance yesterday. The point I do want to make is the 2 outfielders who kept their place from the Bratislava game, Real Hatate and Callum McGregor, I thought were both really poor. in the game. So it was just a general all-round poor performance from the starting team.
I think I did mention it on Friday that there was going to be a real come-down factor after the massive high, but so much went into Wednesday night. It takes its toll on players, like mentally and physically as well, and so I think Rio Hatate and Callum McGregor could probably have done with being rotated. I think two of them were bust, you know what I mean? And, it's because the best midfielder on display yesterday was Bernardo, and then when Engels came on, he was very good, so, but it wasn't a high bar, was it? Let's be honest, so Hatate and Callum McGregor, but at least Bernardo looked creative enough in the first half, and he was getting in amongst it. And I'm not saying Bernardo was brilliant, but he was the best of the three midfielders. But I think a lot of that had to do with people talk about like hangovers from no games, but I think so much effort went into Wednesday night that McGregor and Hatate kind of suffered most from that, because they were excellent on Wednesday night. They were two of the Celtic's main players on Wednesday night, and it does take its toll with it. People can say it like, I know players are fit and they should be able to play, that was 3 games in 8 days, but there is some kind of toll taken on you, whether it be mentally or physically, and I just felt that it kind of sapped a lot of the strength out of them, that one, and those two could maybe have been rotated, but listen, Celtic got there in the end. I think the managers learned a lesson. Maybe one change in every line, i.e. defence, midfield and forwards, if need be, if they're not enforced on them, like Cameron Carter-Vickers and Alistair Johnston were yesterday. But it's no surprise when the cavalry came on that it was Engels, Taylor, Kuhn and Yang. And Yang did well too. He at least looked hungry and wanted to be involved and got in about it, which is what you want to see from players coming on. You want them to make that impact. But yeah, I think there was a toll played in terms of Hatate and McGregor, and it showed, didn't it? And also, I think Adamida nailed it as well. I don't think Celtic expected Falkirk to beat that good. To really come at them, 4-3-3 and be aggressive in their press as well. And it took them all by surprise. And it took them a fair bit of time to get to grips with it. And then the manager realised, right, it's gone an hour. We're still trailing. Something has to be done here. Because I always thought that Celtic's superior fitness would tell in the end, and they would get opportunities. So, and that's inevitably the way it turned out.
What about this from Jim then? Welsh and Palma, not good enough. What was the thoughts on their performances yesterday, Ryan?
I didn't learn anything new with Stephen Welsh. I think he's an okay backup, but he's never going to be a first team player. I've called for him to maybe move on in numerous transfer windows to progress his career. If he's happy being 4th or 5th choice centre back, then so be it. He's playing for his boyhood team. I'm not going to slag him or anything, but I don't think he's of the required level. I never think he's been of the required level. Between that and the fact that he's had injuries as well that have curtailed any sort of progress that he's had, it's disappointing for him. But I didn't learn anything new. I didn't think he was awful yesterday. I didn't think Trusty was awful yesterday either. I actually thought he was pretty solid, apart from that one moment that Tony was talking about where he got beat by the winger, Aguiman, was it, Tony? Yeah, apart from that, I thought he was pretty solid, to be honest. I thought he grew into the game as the game went on. A bit leggy, but that's to be expected because he's been, he's had no game time for the past, 2-3 weeks since he joined the club. Only had that debut on Wednesday and then 90 minutes, so you'd obviously feel that. In terms of Palma, yeah, it was a poor performance. I actually thought he started the game okay, and then it seemed as if the pressure got the better of him for whatever reason. He wasn't the only one, and I'm at pains to say that he wasn't the only player that played poor, but it's the way that he plays, and I'd say Hatate's a victim of it as well. They're very emotional when they're on the pitch, and if it isn't working out, then it's glaringly obvious that it isn't working out for the player individually. I just thought it was a really, really poor performance. He didn't take his opportunity that you would want, but I don't think it was down to a lack of trying. I just genuinely think he had a bad game. He was getting back and trying to help defensively. It's just nothing that he was doing was coming off. And the writing was on the wall. I was surprised he came out for the second half. After 60 minutes, you knew he was coming off. Yang comes on and does a whole lot more in the 30 minutes that he was on the park. And obviously, Kuhn on the other side was just sublime. So it's disappointing for him. I don't really know where he goes from here, to be honest. But I don't want to, I don't want to make it obvious. I know that he had a bad game, but he wasn't the only one that had a bad game at the end of the day.
Where does he go for here, Tony? Because that was a big opportunity for him yesterday. I was surprised he started the game and he didn't deliver. I
said to Ryan yesterday, now you can put up with players suffering a loss of form, it happens, but Palmer's a chronic loss of form. It's a chronic loss of form. I just didn't feel that Palmer was going to do anything creative yesterday. He's put on the part to beat his man, go down the line, cross, shoot. He did nothing. He takes an eternity to make up his mind, to decide what he's going to do. And then most of the time, what he does is cut inside. There's no end product. There's no urgency about him. I don't know what he's watching in terms of the Celtic team, with a high press and everything done at speed and a tempo, because he's just not fitting that template at the minute. And I was surprised. Ryan said he thought it was the ideal game to play him at on Friday, and I was just like, can't see that, because I just don't know at this moment in time what he offers to the party. And then when they fall out with themselves, as Ryan says, maybe temperamental, he can come across as being a lazy player. And I think Vai suffered because there was no tracking back, and usually you would have Maeda doing a lot of defensive work as well. So I'm not saying he's lazy, I'm just saying that kind of attitude sometimes, and I don't know if he's buying into the team thing. For Palma, I've always felt he was an individual, and it's always about him. But if you're not contributing in any shape or form, and he didn't do that yesterday, then I've got to be honest, I don't know where he goes from here. And with the wingers on form the way they are, lots of people were saying even Yang stepped up yesterday. So you'd be inclined to put Yang in a squad before Palmer. I would have to agree on attitude at this moment in time, and I just feel that he has to do something drastic to get it all back on track. As you say, never write players off, but I don't know what's happened to Palmer, because he has gone off a cliff. He really has. And you can't have players like that not in this team where everything's done at speed, tempo, and it's all about the collective. And I just feel that at this minute in time, he's playing bit parts for a reason, and he'll continue to be on the outside looking in, because what he needs to do is look at Kuhn's attitude. We came on for half an hour, and he was a man of the match. Yeah. And Brendan Rodgers handed Palmer that opportunity to be the man of the match yesterday, and he was found wanting by some distance.
The issue I've got with Palma is that he's obviously not playing well at the moment, but I think even if he was playing at a better level, I'm just not sure he's a good fit for this team. I don't know if he's got the attributes that Brendan Rodgers is looking for. Rodgers at Champions League level keeps talking about pace and power. Yep. Palma doesn't have either of those things, and that's with the ball. Without the ball, he's clearly not as effective. Forget Dyson Maeda, because nobody on the planet is as effective as Dyson Maeda off the ball. But he's not as effective as Nicholas Kuhn or anyone like that. So it's difficult to see him going forward. Ryan, final thoughts? I don't want to spend ages on Palmer.
Yeah, I think he's got the same problem that Haksabanovic had when he was at Celtic as well. He's got technical quality. We've seen it before. It's the thing is he doesn't have that top end pace that you need to play in a Brendan Rodgers side. It's a weird fit. I don't know where he goes from here. It was a big opportunity for him on Saturday, or on Sunday rather, yesterday, and he didn't take it. To me, he looks like a number 10 that's playing out wide, but you wouldn't play him over Arne Engels in the 10 position, or Rio Hatate or Paulo Bernardo if he's moved there. So That's a problem that he's got to solve. He's too predictable on the ball. You know he's going to cut in. You know he's going to try for a shot. The thing is, Kieran's the opposite. You don't know what he's going to do. He's unpredictable. He changes it up every single time. Maeda, I don't think Maeda's in control of himself at times, but he's unpredictable.
Maeda doesn't know what he's doing. So.
No, but that's better. Being unpredictable means that the defender doesn't know what you're going to do and they can't set themselves. There was a point yesterday in the game, and the ball is put forward to Palma, and he doesn't catch up with it. The defender catches up with his opposing fullback. It's one of those ones that Daizen Maeda would get to, and that's the difference. You can't hurt the team by playing a player like Palma when Daizen Maeda can get to that ball with his aggression and pace and power. It's a weird fit, and I don't honestly know where he goes from here. I want him to do well. I'm desperate for him to do well for Celtic because I do think he's a likeable character, etc. But it's just not working out for him at this moment in time, and I don't honestly see where his next chance comes from at this point.
Yeah, JJ just pointing out a thing that I totally agree with, that a winger would be on the shopping list for January. I think if we were to get an injury to one of Kuhn or Maeda, I'd be all right, because James Forrest could fill in on either side, left or right. I think if both of those guys, Kuhn and Maeda, were to get injured at the same time, you'd be looking at putting Palma or Yang into your starting team, and I'm not sure in either. Listen, I know Yang is getting plaudits for yesterday and he was lively when he came on. I'm still not convinced at all that he's a Celtic first team player, but he's certainly offering more than Palma. Can we move on to the new signings, unless did you want to speak there, Tony, on Yang? No.
I need to see more of that from Yang.
Yeah.
And I'm allowing for the opposition as well. But if Yang gets minutes, he has to bring that consistency over a period of time if he gets minutes. But at least he let people know he was still around.
What about the new signings? What did you make of? We've kind of touched on it again. Alex Valle. I thought it was an all right debut. Some promising things. He did well for the Bernardo goal, didn't he? It was a good header for a great finish from Bernardo. Other moments he was possibly at fault for both the Falkirk goals.
Tough assignment against Agyeman, by the way, because that boy was giving him not a run around, but he was really keeping him on his toes for the duration. That sometimes you had to get doubled up to actually deal with him, because he looked like a real threat out wide for Falkirk. Maybe he's a player that's going places. I was just reading there that he was at Celtic Hearts before moving to Falkirk, so he looks like a bit of a find. 24 years old, still got a bit of development to go. I'm not saying that Celtic should go out and sign this player, but he looked pretty decent, and I'm sure that other teams watching that would have been like, this guy's a pretty good option out wide, because he was given a Barcelona. He is a Barcelona player. He was giving him problems, so that'll be a good confidence booster for him. But there was some good moments. I still think it's a foul for the first goal. I've watched it 5 or 6 times. He pulls him back. I think, and is it weak? Potentially, yes, but a pullback is a pullback. And if you're looking for that intervention from VAR and you've got it there, then I don't see how that can be given. The second one is a bit more innocuous, although when I looked at it in real time, I was like, he's been pushed in the face here. Surely they've got to bring this back. And then all of a sudden you see that they're checking for an offside rather than a foul on Alex Bailly. So yeah, he was in the walls. He got an assist for Paulo Bernardo's goal. He showed some nice touches here and there. I'm not going to write him off instantly because it's his first game. If we did that with every player, then some of our greatest players would have been wrote off after one game. So it's a wait and see for him. But at this point, I think Taylor's position as number 1 left back is pretty secure at this moment in time.
But like, Taylor's going to start the Champions League games, Taylor's playing really well, but we're kind of hoping we'd sign a left back who would possibly be in for the Champions League. So, you know what I mean?
Right. It's his first game, right?
Yeah.
School of hard knocks. He's up against a guy who's just got brute force and strength and can play a bit, and he's found out the hard way. Listen, I'm on the fence in terms of the fouls for the two of them. I just think you've got to be stronger. He's trying to outmuscle a guy who's just got more strength than him. For the first goal. Yeah, he's pulled a wee bit, but come on. It's supposedly a contact sport. So I think I just think he did some good things going forward. I think defensively that I don't know. I think everybody was looking for a player to come in and overtake Taylor eventually, weren't they? In the hope that an upgrade in Taylor. But I think you saw yesterday what Taylor brings. And Taylor's taken for granted a wee bit sometimes, and sometimes he can be a whipping boy. But like teams target Taylor, I thought Falkirk targeted Valley yesterday and Trusty. And you're quite right to do that, aren't you? Because they're two new players try to settle into a team. So I think they tried to give them the torrid time with two big guys right up on both of them, centre forwards as well. And it's you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And a lot of the Celtic supporters' first impression of the two guys yesterday was a bit meh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's against Falkirk. So you're thinking, if these guys have got a lot about them, they should be shining in this kind of game. But I know they've not had a lot of game time, and I'll cut them some slack on that. And it's their first appearance, and it was in a back four. Well, neither of them have played together. I get all that, but so lots to work on for those two guys. And I didn't see enough to turn around and say, do you know what? Both of them warrant an instant place in the team. I wasn't coming away from that saying they need to play. And that's what Brendan Rodgers wanted from those two guys yesterday. Because this is it. If you don't shape up in this Celtic team, shape up in this Celtic team, you could end up being shipped out. Because it's just that there's no room or margin for error. It's very unforgiving. This pace and power that he talks about, he wants it in every area. And I think everybody wanted a left back that would maybe be a wee bit more robust and would play in the Champions League. But you've looked at that and you've said, Taylor plays in the Champions League, doesn't he?
Yeah. Plays against Dortmund,
and your defensive partnership is Scales and Cameron Carter-Vickers, assuming Cameron Carter-Vickers is fit. Because Trusty didn't do enough to turn and say he should oust Scales at the team. No. Scales had a brilliant start to the season, which is another reason why I would have kept him in yesterday. So lots of players who got their opportunity yesterday didn't take it. And then it was left to the guys, normal first team starters to come on and rescue the situation. Celtic shouldn't have been in that situation, but they were. Thankfully, they did rescue the situation. And but I think lesson learned. You cannot make 8 changes. The manager said it himself. It's just Celtic are not in that luxurious position to make 8 changes and everything to go swimmingly the way they've been playing at the start of the season. We're just not there yet, and we might never be there. We're trying to approach that and get there, but I just think we're strengthening depth. Whilst we do have strength and depth in certain positions, there are other positions where you would maybe want a bit more, wouldn't you?
I think that was my one thing from yesterday. The one thing that I don't know if it was a negative or whatever. Was the 2 new signings. I was looking for them to really come in and to give us I wanted to be here having a conversation about the weekend. Do we go with Taylor or Valle? Do we go with Scales or Trusty with the Dortmund games in mind? And we didn't get that yesterday. It's incredibly early for both of them. It was both of their first games for Celtic. They've not even been playing with their clubs, either of them this season. So it was a tough ask for them. And they were both playing in a defence that also had Ralston playing his first game of the season, Welsh playing first start of the season, Welsh having his first start of the season, and Falkirk were pretty good in attacking. So I'm well aware that hopefully they'll come good, and I'm not writing them off at all. And like the best defender we've had in the last 10 years, Virgil van Dijk, got off to a horrendous start. Remember Carragandi away, and he turned out to be incredible. So Nicholas Coon's another player who didn't start great and turned out to be incredible. So both these guys might be great. They might turn out to be great. Just wanted a wee bit more yesterday, but
Just quickly before I make my point, do you remember who played alongside Virgil van Dijk in that away game?
Moyo Colo.
Absolutely, yeah. The lesser spotted Moyokolo. But injuries galore with him, unfortunately. But I just think I'm not concerned whatsoever with Trusty at all. I thought he did enough in the game. Maybe that's a controversial opinion.
I thought
I don't
Trusty
think
was
he did.
better than Baye.
Oh, I think he was noticeably better than Baye. I thought Baye struggled, although he did have a couple of nice touches, nice wee moves forward. But defensively, he was pegged back by Agyeman, and he was made to work, and he was definitely in a battle. But I just think as the game progressed, I thought Trusty was more in control of his performance, and there was a
He'd
couple
a
of nice
better second half, Ryan. He'd a better second half. He grew into it. First half was questionable, right?
I thought it was okay. I didn't think he was
He
dreadful.
wasn't okay in the first half. He wasn't. Come on. The second half, he I think, to quote yourself, he understood the assignment. I think he get caught cold. And from someone who's played at the level he's at, I'm with Hamish. I expected a bit more from Trusty. I've got to be honest. So, again, you said it was a controversial opinion, and that's fair enough. But I didn't see what you saw in him yesterday, I have to say. I'm not writing him off. It's his first game. But I wanted a bit more from him yesterday, I have to say.
Yeah, you would expect more from a £6 million player. I get that, totally understand that. But I've got no worries about him whatsoever. He's got the right physical build. He's clearly good at passing the ball. He's better than passing with the ball than I thought he would be, because I was hearing all about doom and gloom about his passing ability for Sheffield United last season. It's clear that he can pass the ball forward. I want to judge him when he's alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers. In long term, you would hope that is the defensive partnership of Trusty and Carter-Vickers, because you've spent 12 million, 13 million for the two of them. So I would be expecting them to start most games. I think he'll grow with time. It's up to him to really push forward and take that position off the Scales, because you just expect Scales to go back in for St Johnstone, and that's credit to Scales that he's in that position from where he was at the beginning of last season. The fact that there's not even an eyelid blinked at all about Scales starting games is a credit to him, and it's up to Trusty, who has been signed for $6 million, to go and oust him in that team.
Yeah. It's positive, and it's a real compliment to Liam Scales and to Greg Taylor that these guys aren't coming in and getting straight into the team. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We might see a bit of Trusty going forward if this Carter-Vickers stuff is serious. It might be Scales and Trusty for some games going forward, possibly this weekend. We are through, guys. Aberdeen in the semi. I believe that's going to be on this Saturday, first Saturday in November, because we're playing Leipzig the following Tuesday night. So unless the powers that be want to give us a really horrendous schedule,
Sunday, Tuesday,
I think will be the Saturday. That's going to be a good game. I think we'll get 3 games coming up against Aberdeen actually before the end of the year.
Wow.
So that will be good. And Motherwell Rangers in the other semi.
Bring it on, Hamish. Didn't matter who we played in the semi-final. Ryan said we got the toughest. Probably did. On the
toughest draw, in my opinion.
In current form, it's the toughest draw. Let's see where we are in November, and let's see if Aberdeen are still playing the same way and they're still up there. Then it'll be the hardest of the 3. But listen, got to play somebody in the semi-finals. So it's just like, doesn't matter who it is. You know what's required. You know the levels that are required, and if anything, I think with our recent semi-final against Aberdeen, should just let you know, just give you that warning that if you're not on it, what can happen.
And that was on paper. And that was on paper a very poor Aberdeen side. This is an Aberdeen side that have won every single game so far this season.
It's good though. I kind of want that. I want a challenge, and I can't wait to play them at Celtic Park. And I think the Pittodrie game's a midweek game. It's a night game as well, so I can't wait for that game.
That's tasty. Yeah. I always think it's one of the best fixtures. Celtic Aberdeen, Rangers Aberdeen is a good fixture as well at Pittodrie. It's a game that always the league is stronger when it's got a strong Aberdeen, and I always say that. I know what's going on with Hearts at the moment isn't ideal for the league as a whole. Say what you want about them, but it's better when there's a strong Aberdeen, Dundee United, Hearts, etc. It just makes the league better. And they've had an incredible start to the season. Get Papi Habib Gueye, who's scoring every single week for them at the moment. This was a guy that they had last season that they sent out on loan in January because Barry Robson and Neil Warnock didn't know what to do with the player. Just goes to show you when you bring in somebody maybe a bit left field that can work with these players, the difference that they can make. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those games against Aberdeen, and it should be a cracking tie at Hampden.
Yeah, can't wait for it. Just a few more comments before we go. Hazel saying, I think the new guys would be better if they were brought in around established players. There were too many playing that weren't regulars at the same time. Brendan Rodgers did admit that all is well that ends well. Yeah, I think that was part of the issue yesterday. I think we would have got on a bit better had the likes of Trusty and Vibe been playing alongside and behind the likes of Dyson Maida and Cameron Carter-Vickers. Phil, can we all agree that a lot of Celtic fans wrote Kuhn off last season? So let's cut the new signings some slack. Palma is a different case altogether. Just before we go, guys, I just wanted to mention that the Celtic FC women got a really big result yesterday. They are 1-0 up from the first leg against the Ukrainian side, Vorskla Poltava. The second leg is on Thursday. Both legs been played in Airdrie due to the ongoing war in Ukraine. If they win that tie, guys, they're into the group stage. And as a group stage of the UEFA Women's Champions League, we could have some of the biggest names in women's football coming to, well, I would assume, Celtic Park. They might play some of the games there, like Barcelona, Lyon, Bayern Munich, Chelsea already in the group stage. So that's one to keep an eye on. Thursday night's going to be a big one. I mean, I don't know, Ryan, would it be maybe one of the biggest games in the women's team's kind of relatively short history?
I think so, yeah. It's an opportunity to get into European. I think that would be the first time that they were in the group stages of the Champions League, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not totally clued up. I maybe should be a bit more so, but it'd be an incredible result for Elena Sadiku and her team to get through to the Champions League proper. So all the best to the ladies for that game on Thursday, and fingers crossed to get the job done. They're halfway there. From what I watched, I had the game on slightly until I left for the Falkirk game. They had a couple of really big chances that they should have taken, and so it should have been more comfortable. But I guess the one positive is the fact that it will be in Airdrie again, so it'll be like it'll be 2 home games on the trot, which can't be ideal for the opposition side. But then again, they'll be playing in different stadiums anyway due to the conflict that's going on in their own country. So, the job is there. The job is simple. Let's see if they can get it done. Hopefully they do.
Great stuff. So it's all good, Tony. All is well at Celtic, and no games this midweek for us to have to deal with either.
That's a rare free week. He was asked that yesterday. With no European football, with the Europa League taking centre stage, so a chance to just work on a few things and maybe get the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers back to full fitness. I think the timing of that suits Celtic right now, and Alistair Johnston as well. They've got an extra few days to recover and stuff and make sure they're fit for Saturday, isn't it? Yeah, Saturday evening, isn't it?
Saturday evening at McDermott Park.
Yeah. So, strange time, but indeed.
Premier Sports, isn't it? It'll be...
he tossed the coin, Ryan. You see who does the driving again, one of the ones.
Don't mind at all, regardless.
Somebody's taking Perth and somebody's taking Dingwall.
I know what one I want. I mean, more importantly, I know what one I don't want.
Okay, is your old dad driving to Dingwall? Is that what you're telling me?
None of these are driving to Dortmund. That's the main thing.
What's that?
None of these are driving to Dortmund. So you're all good.
That's true. Yeah, cool. No, everything's well, and wish the women well on Thursday night as well. How good would it be to have both the Celtic men and women team in the Champions League? One in the Champions League phase and one in the Champions League group stages for the first time in history. I think that'd be excellent.
It would. Right, okay. Thanks, guys, once again. This was the first morning briefing of the week. Appreciate all of you for watching, commenting, etc. We'll return tomorrow to do it all again. Speak to you then.
Cheers, guys.